Welcome to the 60 Plus podcast.
I'm Janet.
And I'm Joe. How are you today, Janet?
Oh, do you want the truth or?
Of course I want the truth.
I've kind of been better, but I don't want to really go into it.
Okay, that's all right. We all have those days, right?
Yeah.
And, this tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow is a new day.
Tomorrow is going to...
Actually, I'll probably feel better by the end of today.
How about by the end of this podcast?
Yeah, maybe even by the end of the podcast.
What are we going to talk about today, Janet?
Well, we're doing Real Talk today, and we have Nancy with us, who's joined us to do our Real Talk episode.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Like we always do in the Real Talk episodes, we have a list of 10 questions. We're kind of tweaking them a little bit as we go along.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same, but
Mostly.
you just smooth them out a bit.
A little bit. As we get better at this, we get
Yes.
better at asking the questions.
Yes.
So I think we decided that I was going to ask the first question.
We did decide that, Joe.
Well, first of all, we have to establish that Nancy is over 60.
Yes, I am over 60.
Okay,
Yes,
all
I know
right.
she doesn't look it, but she is.
Oh, thank you.
She doesn't sound it either.
No, she doesn't.
Okay. So, Nancy, did you celebrate turning 60? And if you did, how so?
I was planning to have a party. My birthday is in June, and I was in Maine, and I was planning to throw myself a party with the neighbors at the lake. And then a couple of days before that, I kind of decided that I didn't want to throw myself a party. I think my sister said something to me that made me feel like I shouldn't do it, which older sisters sometimes do.
Don't they?
And so we ended up just having a little party at my sister's camp in Maine, and these are just little camps. But later that night, my friend who lives across the road, and is a lovely, wonderful man, and his wife was working, and she works at the local grocery store, and he went to the grocery store and bought a bunch of flowers and a cake. And I was already in my pajamas, and he came over with the flowers and the cake because he said that I should have a cake and flowers on my birthday. And since my husband had passed away a number of years ago, he said, I'm just doing what her hubby would have done for her.
Oh, that is
So
really sweet. What a nice guy.
Yeah, that is one of, that's a great memory. And that was a really great birthday.
Yeah,
actually.
and don't you love surprises like
Yeah,
that too?
yeah, it was
just
it's just,
the kindness of
yeah.
others is heartwarming.
And sometimes it's so much better when it's unplanned and it's
Right.
spontaneous, right?
right.
All the planning and everything, and usually something goes wrong and somebody ruins the surprise.
Yeah, and throwing a party can be stressful, right? You shouldn't have any
Yeah.
stress on your birthday.
And to have somebody who didn't have to like me, like not family or anything. I
But
mean,
Nancy,
he
you're so
just
likable,
liked
so that's
me,
impossible.
and so it really meant a lot. So yeah, it was terrific.
That's cool. That's cool.
That's a great story. That might be the best answer we've had to
I
that
know.
question.
I think you're right. So I'm going to take this.
Nothing against our previous Real
No,
Talk guest.
yeah. Let's rewind that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the second question. How do you feel about being 60 plus?
I don't like the thought of getting physically older. That bothers me because I'm starting to look older physically. But professionally and personally, I have to say that this is probably the best time in my life. I'm probably as happy as I've ever been. And I use the word content all the time because I truly am content. And I have a very small life, but I have a wonderful small life. So I wish I had done all the things I'm doing now 20 years ago, but I can't do that. And so I'm not upset about growing older. I'm trying to stay healthy. I'm trying to keep my brain working. And I do have to say that I'm at this point in my life, I am very content
Yeah. I think
most of the time.
yeah, that's a great word. I love that word.
We've talked about happiness.
Right.
It's like you can't have steady state happiness or joy. Contentment is kind of the baseline, right?
Right. Yeah. And
yeah,
it's a wonderful thing.
It's kind of like a calmness, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very peaceful.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Joe. You
All
are
right.
up.
So you might have touched on this a little bit, but if you could elaborate, what do you like most And what do you like least about being over 60?
The thing I like about being over 60 the most, and I've actually just started doing this within the past year, is that I can make decisions for myself and I don't have to justify them to anybody.
Amen to that.
And it's taken me a long time to be able to do that, because I do have two older sisters who I love dearly, but I am the baby of the family. And so everyone thinks that they know better than I
Right.
do. So now,
You're still the baby at over 60.
oh, absolutely, I am absolutely the
Once the
baby.
baby, always the baby.
Yes, yes, and I'm treated as a baby, which sometimes is good. You know,
Right.
sometimes I like it.
Babies can be nicely
Yeah.
treated.
Yes, but sometimes it's a little too much. But I like being able to, and again, I'm on my own now, and I don't. My husband passed away 7.5 years ago, and I don't wish that he had passed away, but I'm just like the fact I love being on my own. I love living.
Well, you're
alone.
finding the good in being
Right.
single.
Right, and
That's not the same as wishing he had passed
no,
away.
right,
It's-
right, yeah, no, exactly, yeah.
You're
so-
playing the cards that you're dealt.
And that's something that I'm really good at because I've been dealt a lot of really bad cards. So I think making my own decisions, being my own person, and it's taken me a really long time. It's taken me, 62 years to be able to be that person. So that's what I love the most. The thing that I like the least about being over 60 is that I don't have a lot of years to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
So at this point in my life where my career is good and I'm financially independent, comfortable, not, rolling in dough. But the thing that I like the least is that there's an end.
Yeah.
There's an end coming, as opposed to when you're 30 and and the future just goes on and on
You
forever.
think you're going to live forever, yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And you're invincible.
Right. So it's that,
Right.
it's not having enough time to do all the things that I would like to do.
Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning, actually. I was thinking, okay, what do I want my last act to look like, right? What's my vision?
I'm going to spend my last dollar. That's my last act.
Yeah. No, I agree.
What do I want to spend my money on? What are the dreams that I haven't accomplished yet? And there's no hesitation at this point, right?
Right.
You just got to go for it.
Well, I've told my kids I have a shellfish or crustacean allergy. Maybe my last act is eating a lobster.
No, don't do that. That's awful. Or at least don't do it around me, Joe.
That would be a horrible way to go.
I really would.
Well, if I knew it was going to be my last,
Well, I mean, if you
it
did
didn't
on purpose,
precipitate
I
the
guess.
last act. It was
The
like,
question is, would you dip it in butter first?
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
with a side of bacon.
Oh, yeah. Well, the bacon you don't have an allergy to.
No.
Okay. So complete this sentence. You know you're 60 plus when?
You know you're 60 plus when you start eating dinner at 4 o'clock.
Going for that blue plate special.
Yeah, my friends, we call it late lunch, early dinner.
Yeah.
And seriously, if it's 6 o'clock, I'm not going. No.
I love
Janet,
that.
this is a newer question in the Real Talk
It
episode.
was.
Tell us how you came up with this question.
Well, I went to pick up a book because I'm in a book group, and I am part of this software system where you can go in and you can choose what copy you want.
From the library.
From the library, yeah. When I walked out of the library from picking up, wow, you're 60 plus when you order the large print book, and you're so excited when you open it up because you're like, I'm going to be able to read this in any light. Anywhere, anytime. This is great.
You can actually see the words.
I can actually see the words.
That's really funny.
So I was like, we have to use this question. This is a good one.
It's a great question. I knew when I was 60 plus when more than half of my conversations with my friend had some kind of medical aspect to it.
Yeah,
Something about a
yeah.
doctor's appointment or a procedure or someone's condition.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. So aside from eating dinner at 4 o'clock, now that you're in your 60s, do you do anything differently than when you were not 60?
I think I do a lot of things differently. not any one specific thing. I think I've learned to reprioritize the things that I do. For example, housework is definitely at the bottom of the list. If it makes it to the list, which is another thing that I get yelled at by my sisters for. And I really, really try to live for myself because I'm the kind of person who, all my life, I was a mother and, a daughter and a sister, and I did so many things for people, and I wanted to, and it's my personality.
Yes.
And now I'm really making decisions for myself, and I don't really care how other people feel.
I love that. Love it. And yeah, because that does change your whole perspective and it does change everything, your behavior, everything. If you start with yourself first, that's a huge
Yeah.
shift.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. What changes have you noticed since you turned 60? I think you just talked about it. What changes? What are we after there, Joe?
I don't know. You wrote the question.
Is it physical changes?
Changes in perspective, changes in how other people treat you, changes in how you treat other people. Any kind of change that
Oh,
is age-based.
how other people treat me is definitely a pet peeve of mine since turning 60 because, like I said, mentally, I'm really sharp and I'm very content with life, but I look like an old woman because I have some physical issues. And I don't like the fact that people talk to me as an old person. One day I was out with my sister, actually, and my sister is physically healthier than I am, and that's apparent. And someone asked her a question about me, didn't ask the question to me. So I was really upset, as if I was someone who couldn't answer a question. So people definitely treat you differently. Sometimes it's good. For example, when I go to the dump in Maine and I have a big bag of trash and a handsome man comes over and takes it right out of my hand,
I like that.
I have no problem with that. But when people assume because I'm older that I'm not as capable mentally or physically, and you can tell when people treat you differently.
Yeah.
It's mostly, in retail settings and things like that.
When that person asked your sister the question instead of you, did you let him have it?
I did not. And
Oh,
I'll
I'm
tell you-
surprised. I would have guessed you did.
Well, I'll tell you why, because that was about 3 years ago. And that was when I was still kind of being meek and mild and not speaking up for myself. And this truly, the speaking up for myself thing is new.
Yeah.
Really within the past year, and there have been some things that precipitated it. And we laughed about it afterwards because
Right.
most things in life are pretty funny, I think. But no, I did not let the woman have it.
Well, you led us right into the next question. What do you think is the funniest thing about being over 60?
The funniest thing about being over 60, I think that there are a lot of funny things, but one of the funniest things is when I'm talking about a person or an event, especially given my role as an educator, and I know that this thing happened not that long ago, maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah, yesterday.
And the student has no clue what I'm talking about, and especially when it's a Seinfeld reference,
Oh,
which I use all the time.
Of course.
well, I have a theory, Nancy. Every situation in life is described and analyzed in a Seinfeld episode.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Almost no situation.
I am never going to date anybody who doesn't understand those references.
Oh, gosh.
Right. I'll say it in the classroom, and they're like, I said, don't you guys watch Seinfeld? And they're like, what? I'm like, okay, man hands? No, means okay.
My older daughter, she's in healthcare policy, and she was organizing a panel discussion, and I was almost never proud of her than the day that she sent me a picture of the name card that she was setting up in front of someone's seat that said Cartwright.
Cartwright?
And she sent it to me for the right reason. It was the Seinfeld. I'm so proud of you. Not proud, master's degree in public policy, all of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to one up you on that. So several years ago, my daughter and then, I don't even know, he was just still a boyfriend. Now he's her husband. Oh my goodness. They had watched every Seinfeld episode and actually went to Halloween dressed as Elaine and Jerry.
That's a great Halloween costume.
Love it. Love it. So there are a few out there who are aware and really understand what life's about, right?
Right.
Well, it would be like us not knowing anything about World War II.
Right. True. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. The next question is, we like to bust myths about being 60 plus on our podcast. Is there any myths that you would like us to bust?
Myths. Let me think. About being over 60. I think one of the biggest myths about people being over 60, and this is probably a common one that you've heard before, is that they don't have anything left to contribute, or they don't understand what's happening in society technology-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I pride myself on being pretty technology astute. And I find it, offensive when people just assume that I don't know how to answer an email or pull up a file or something like that. So I think that's a huge myth. And people even older than I, in their 90s. I mean, my aunt is pretty technologically savvy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that younger folks own the market, I guess, of technology.
Right. And they think that if they advertise to us, it has to be on television.
Right. Exactly.
Or newspapers.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that the technology is definitely something that we're quite capable.
Yes.
Facebook started for college students, right? And it's now kind of become our generation's technology platform and social media platform. And younger people have gone to Instagram and TikTok and
Right.
Yeah,
right.
mostly.
Yeah, the demographic now on Facebook is
Mostly
60.
over 50.
it's us.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's us.
Yeah.
All right. You're an educator, so this might fall right into your wheelhouse. What advice would you give to someone who is about to turn 60?
I guess the advice that I would give to someone who's about to turn 60 would be to not get hung up on the number. And people say, "Oh, you're only as old as you feel," and blah blah blah. Not any of those adages, but
Well, as they would say in Seinfeld, yada, yada, yada.
yeah, exactly. I know I'm 60. I get it. I know when I was born. But when I think about myself as a person, I don't first think that I'm a 60-year-old or a 62-year-old
Right.
person. So I don't let it be any kind of a barrier or a label. I mean, it can be a badge of courage, absolutely.
Yes.
Because at 62, I've gone through more things than most people have gone through who've lived to be, 102. So I'm proud that I've gone through all that and I've come out the other side. And I've had all those experiences. And they've made me who I am today, right now at this age. But I think the important thing is just don't even, don't get hung up on the number
Right.
and what people think you should be because of that number.
Right. It doesn't define you.
No. And it doesn't, I feel like aside from the experience that I gained along the way, I feel like the same girl I was when I was 16.
Right.
I have different viewpoints and I understand things differently, and it's not the first thing I think about every
Right.
day when I get up.
Right. Right.
There are lots of other things.
Until I get to
about
the
me.
mirror in the bathroom.
Yeah. Or until I have to sit on the edge of the bed for a couple minutes because the room is spinning or something. But I think that's what I would suggest is don't get hung up on the number. And I don't know a better way to phrase it because everyone says that, but just continue to live your life just as you lived your life when you were 59.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a celebration.
life doesn't have to change.
Right.
Just because you've turned 60. So just, live your life as you always have and just enjoy it and try to find the joy in life. I think that's
Always.
that's
Yeah.
something I try to do.
Well, it's easier to get a dinner reservation at 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. At 4:00 is good.
If the restaurant's open.
That's a good time to start cocktail hour.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Yep.
This seems to be a recurring theme. I mean, 2 episodes ago, we were talking about a glass of wine that we had. Last time, we were talking about hemp.
I don't think we need to really call that out, Joe.
Well, why not?
It just is.
Okay, it just is. All right, I think we're on question 10.
I know. Your last question.
my.
Dun, 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 dun. Do you have a bucket list? And if so, what's on it?
I have a bucket list, and the only thing that's on my bucket list is to move to Maine and live there full time
Oh,
for
nice.
the duration of my life. And I'm hoping to do that within the next year.
Excellent.
A
Excellent.
little house, 2 acres of land. That's all I want. My dog, my 2 cats, and whatever other animals I opt to bring with me along the way, which is
Or that you may pick up there.
about being over 60 is you can get anything that you want. So that's really is my bucket list, to go someplace, have a little house, have a little small piece of land, and just enjoy peace and quiet and solitude and birds chirping, and
Sounds lovely.
that's it. That's all I want.
That's great.
Maybe that guy across the street will bring you flowers again.
He very well.
Wait,
He
no,
might.
he's married.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
married,
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm not. I
But
will.
when she buys her new house, he'll be a new guy across the street, and he'll be single.
But no. When people ask me about that,
Yeah.
if I'm going to date, or I say I have a dog. I don't even understand the question. I mean,
Why do I need a guy?
yeah.
Well, okay, all right. I might have to take issue with this kind of thinking.
No offense, but trust me, I've had them all, and the dog is way better.
Okay.
Well, on that note.
Well, Nancy, I don't think I've laughed quite as much in an episode of
No,
60 Plus as I have today. This has been wonderful.
Oh well, thank you for
Yeah.
having me. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you
Well, we
so
have
much.
too.
Thank you so much for joining us and giving us all your sage wisdom and all your funny stories. And this has been really good.
It really has. This has been a fun episode. So, anything you want to mention before we wrap up, Janet?
Just a big thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much. You've been listening to the 60 Plus podcast, Real Talk with Nancy. And until next time, I'm Joe.
I'm Janet. Bye.